What is this the culmination of? What does this represent?
You know, we opened our first Apple retail store 5 years ago today. And it was one in California and one in Virginia, I think. And we felt very strongly that we could provide just an exceptional buying experience for our customers. And so we not only sold computers, but we had things in these stores like Genius Bars, where there were Mac geniuses to help you with problems, and if you had, you know, even problems with other products in our own. And that formula's really worked, and we've now got 147 stores, including one in Lower Manhattan here. And what this represents really is a strategy that said, we're not just going to sell products, we're going to help our customers, and we're going to help customers using Windows, which is sort of an inferior product, move up to a Mac. And we're going to show them how much better it is. And that worked. And it worked so well that we could open up a store right here on Fifth Avenue, pretty big store, and know that it's going to be packed with customers. And half the computers we sell in our stores now are to people that have never owned a Mac before. They're Windows customers switching to a Mac, almost 50%. And so it really says that some of those ideas worked, and now we can implement them in an even larger way here in the heart of the United States.
You realize you're taking a risk on an antiquated notion of service. We don't do that anymore in the United States. We got out of service. You think people are ready to have service revived?
Well, you know, you don't need service if you're not innovating. If you're doing the same thing that you did 5 years ago, then maybe you don't need as much service. And a lot of our competitors don't innovate so much, but we do. And we like to bring people the latest stuff, where you can really put your whole digital life on your computer. You know, you can make films on your computer. You can make blogs and podcasts on your computer. And a lot of people don't know what a blog or a podcast is. And so they can come to an Apple store and find out what all this excitement's about, and learn how to do it themselves if they want to. They can learn how to video conference with their kids or their grandkids, you know, stuff like that. And so as the technology keeps moving and lets us do more and more, we want to bring customers with that, you know, with us, and not just leave them using stuff that they could do 5 years ago, but not the stuff that's been invented since then.
You know the downside of innovation. The rap on it is the minute you buy an iPod, you got to get the newest iPod. And is there a truth to that?
Well, you know, yeah, there is. You know, you keep on innovating, you keep on making better stuff, and if you always want the latest and greatest, then you have to buy a new iPod at least once a year. But, you know, a lot of our customers buy one every 2 years, maybe, or they buy one and they hand it down to their kids. And, well, we've gotten them down to where they're not too expensive.
Well, you know, where's the point where you'll be happy? How much of our lives should we be carrying around on our computers?
Well, it depends what you want to do. What's exciting is that this technology that looked like it was getting stale maybe, you know, 5, 6 years ago has really taken off again. And young people especially are doing some pretty amazing things with it. Will your technology ever merge and come back around with what we have today? What I mean is, if an iPod got live audio signals, we'd have to call it a radio. Right.
And if your video iPods ever get live television signals, that's what we're going to have to call them. Mm-hmm. Is it ever going to come full circle in one technological box? There's a lot of technology in search of a customer. You know, in other words, a lot of companies do things because it's technically possible, but in the end, nobody cares. Nobody wants to buy them. And so we see a lot of that, technology in search of a customer. And I think the hard thing is to figure out what can be done, but also what people really want to do. So what we found as an example in iPods is most of our customers don't care about having a radio built into their iPod. As a matter of fact, the reason they got an iPod is because they don't want some DJ at a radio station determining the music they listen to. They want to determine it themselves. They want to build their own playlists. And so that's why they buy an iPod. And so we have a radio feature that you can attach to your iPod now, but most customers don't buy it because they want their own playlists. So it's a lot easier to come up with technology that people don't want than it is to come up with technology that people do want.
Are you the one applying the pressure to the brand name? A friend of mine today said, in today's society, we've degraded a lot of things. Apple is elegant. It's really what passes for elegance in its simplicity and beauty and design in this country. Does that put inordinate pressure on you to watch that brand like a hawk every day?
You know, people talk a lot about brands. To me, a brand is one simple thing, and that is trust. Your customers trust you. And so brands are like bank accounts. You can have withdrawals and you can have deposits. So if a customer has a great experience, they buy an iPod and they love it, that's a deposit into our brand account in their mind. If they buy something from us and they have a bad experience, then it's a withdrawal. And so if we have a good brand, that means that people are trusting us to make great products and to give them a great experience, and if something goes wrong, to take care of them. And that's what we try to do. We focus on the basic stuff like that. We don't spend a lot of time talking about the brand. We spend a lot of time talking about how do we make the best products in the world, how do we make the best buying experience in the world. If something goes wrong, how do we service a product in 24 hours instead of, a week? How do we take care of customers? And if we do that, then customers will have great experiences with our product, and our brand they'll trust it, and we'll have a good brand. But I think people that run around worrying about their brand all day long instead of worrying about their products maybe don't get what they want.
How do you look at all this? Obviously with pride, but is this your Model T? Is this your space program?
Well, we've learned a lot. We have 147 stores now. Most of them in the U.S., but some of them outside. And we've learned a lot about what works for customers and what doesn't. And this is the best store we've ever built. And I think that it's the state of the art that we know how to do. And we wanted to express that as well. Like the Cube is extremely state of the art use of glass. There's hardly any metal holding it up. It's glass fins holding up glass. And some of this glass, 32-foot-high pieces of glass that were impossible to make 2 years ago. So it's very state-of-the-art. And we were really lucky because, the largest real estate developer in New York is a guy named Harry Macklowe. And he bought the GM building a few years ago for a lot of money. And he called us up and he said, I want you in my building. And we were thinking about putting a store on Fifth Avenue. We said, sure, we're interested. What do you have in mind? And he said, well, there's this plaza in front of the GM building, and there's some stores underneath the plaza, and why don't you go there? And we said, subterranean? Are you crazy? But then we called him back a day later, and we said, wait, we got this crazy idea. If we could redesign the plaza, make it really nice, and we could put an entrance to our store right in the middle of the plaza to go down into the store, we might be interested. And he said, well, what do you have in mind? And we said, well, a 32-foot glass cube. And he loved the idea, and we got it through the city, and a few years later, here we are.
You really don't like introspection. I know that about you. But I'm going to ask you to be introspective for a moment. Where do you fit in the American family of thinkers and inventors? When you see a mouse in public, when you see a click, drag, garbage can logo, all the things you had a hand in that are part of our daily lives, where do you put yourself? How do you view yourself and your achievements?
I don't really think that way.
Try it.
Well, I'm a private person, and when I think of the most valuable things in my life, I think of my family. And when we talk about our work, the people I work with and myself, when we finish doing something that we're really proud of, we want to get on to the next thing. So I think if you do something and it turns out pretty good, then you should go do something else wonderful and not dwell on it for too long. Just figure out what's next.
So while you should be applauded for saying that about your family in a society that doesn't always venerate those things, the fact that you have left us with the tools of our life now is not really the most important part of your life.
That's for other people to figure out. I'm very lucky I get to work with a group of extremely talented people. And we're racing ahead. We've got some really great ideas of the products we're going to build next year and the year after that we're working real hard on. So I think that's our focal length is always forward.